Welcome. You are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Week number 11 in the National Football League. This is one of the biggest matchups, not the most premier, but one that had probably the most potentially playoff implications in week number 11. They kept talking about this on the telecast. Dan Dierdorf reiterated this at least 3 or 4 times that the winner of this game would do themselves a great justice and service if they could win this game. It would really catapult them into that kind of middle ground when talking about this postseason run. And the loser would still be in contention. I mean, we've got a lot of games to go, 6 to be exact, in the National Football League. However, at 4-6 versus 5-5, you really put yourself behind the 8 ball. And keep in mind, if you lose to this team, not only will you need to finish better than them, because if you finish tied, they own the tiebreaker over you. So this is a huge game because you don't want to lose to this team, one that you could potentially down the road be jockeying for position with to get into the postseason. So not only are you looking to stay afloat in the race for that 6th and final wild card spot in the AFC conference, you're looking to beat this team, elevate yourself to 5-5, and make sure that you have access to that tiebreaker at the end of the season with that very said team. I'm talking about the Miami Dolphins hosting the San Diego Superchargers. San Diego Superchargers. Both of these teams come into the game at 4-5. So this game was paramount for both teams involved. Dolphins coming off of an ugly, nasty road loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Monday night. We all know about the Jonathan Martin, Richie Incognito situation looming in Miami. So that's an issue onto itself. Don't need to really address that here. But that distraction is hovering over this football team like a dark storm cloud that won't go away. Meanwhile, the Chargers, after getting a 4-3 on the season and playing some good football going into their bye, they've come off the bye, lose to Washington on the road, then lose to Denver at home, 2 consecutive losses. Now they find themselves one game under 500, where they were once one game over 500. So they desperately were looking for a win in this game. Let's get to the board and break it all down. 4-5 teams. San Diego Chargers on the road at the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins start the game off with a field goal as they take a 3-0 lead. Brent Grimes ends a Chargers drive with an interception. He's been huge for the Dolphins this year. Probably one of the better free agent acquisitions of the offseason of any team in the National Football League. And to think, he's on a 1-year deal, so either somebody's going to have to pay this guy big bucks, or the Dolphins are going to have to pay this guy big bucks. Somebody's going to have to pay Brent Grimes for the type of season he's having. Remember, he was a premier corner in Atlanta, went down with the ACL tear, and then he had to work his way back. People weren't sure what they were going to get out of Brent Grimes. That's why he had to sign the prove it 1-year deal with the Dolphins. Well, he's proven it. Somebody's going to have to pay this man, and he's playing some really, really inspired football in Miami. So he ends that Chargers second possession. No points for the Chargers on that drive. On the ensuing Dolphins possession, Derek Cox drops an interception, and he's been the subject of a lot of disgruntled San Diego Chargers fans. And I was a huge Derek Cox proponent going into free agent. To me, in the free agency, he was one of those corners that you could go out get, because the corner market was oversaturated. You could go out, get this guy for a reasonable price and have him be the cornerstone of your secondary because he was young, he was up and coming, and he could play the cornerback position. Well, in San Diego, they've been a little disappointed in his production. He's been benched 2 of the last 3 games. And so these are type of plays that if you're Derek Cox, you want to get back in the good graces of not only your coaching staff, not only the front office who is paying you, but the fan base that might be down on you right now. You need to pick this off and take it to the house. This was an easy pick six, right in his hands, both of his hands. But that always reminds us, when you watch a DB drop an easy pass, it always reminds you that that's why they play on the defensive side of football, not on offense as a receiver, because they can't catch. And so Derek Cox drops that interception. But on the very next play, Johnny Patrick, the safety, does not miss his opportunity to pick it off, leads to a Gates from Rivers TD, and the big play on that possession was a Ladarius Green 27-yard catch. Chargers take the lead 7-3. And Ladarius Green is a guy that needs to play more. I don't understand why the Chargers aren't utilizing more two tight end sets and getting this guy on the field. He's the heir apparent to Antonio Gates. He's got the measurables, much like Gates. He's fast and athletic, much like Gates. He's a lot longer than Antonio Gates, and he poses a mismatch each and every single time he steps foot on the field. And especially if you're going two tight ends, the attention is going to be attracted to Gates. That's going to allow Ladarius Green to have a one-on-one matchup most times. He's going to win that matchup every single time. You got to get him the football. He needs to play more. He's an asset to this San Diego Chargers team. I want to see him on the field more. I think when he plays, he yields huge dividends for this Chargers offense. Ryan Tannehill misses a wide open Mike Wallace for a big gain or a touchdown. Let's talk about this for a second because I've talked about this in the past. However, it's an ongoing thing. It seems to be a theme with Ryan Tannehill and Mike Wallace. They just simply aren't on the same page for some reason, and I can't quite put my finger on it. On one occasion, it's Wallace stopping a route where Tannehill thinks he's going to continue on it, and it's a miscommunication that might lead to a pick or an incomplete pass on a third down. On another occasion, Wallace is simply wide open, streaking down the sidelines. In Pittsburgh, it'd be a 72-yard touchdown because Ben would hit him in stride, and he'd run in the end zone. With Tannehill, it's either too short and the defender has a chance to recover, or it's too far, he overshoots him. They're never on the same page. And now it's starting to become a problem because it's costing this Dolphins team. You look at that game in New Orleans about 4 or 5 weeks ago when this Dolphins team was undefeated. And Wallace was open in that game on several occasions, and Tannehill just missed him. You look at some other games, and Wallace stopped a route. Or Tannehill thought he was going to be here, and he was there. And these guys have got it. This is going to be a combination that the Dolphins need to work for years to come. They've got to get on the same page. Maybe that'll happen in the offseason with more OTAs and camps, and they can work with each other and become more synchronized and in unison. But right now, these two aren't on the same page. They're not even on the same chapter a lot of times. And so they're in the same book, but they're not on the same chapter. They've got to get on the same page, not just the same book, let alone the same chapter. They need to be on the same page. Right now, they are not. However, even though Tannehill missed that opportunity for a huge play or a touchdown, because he had at least 3 or 4 steps on the Chargers defender, Dolphins still moved the ball down the field, and it's capped by a 2-yard Daniel Thomas touchdown plunge. It's now 10-7 Miami. A personal foul on that drive kept that alive. So if you're the Chargers, you're on the road, you're trying to get a win after 2 consecutive losses, can't have that. Cannot have a personal foul keep a drive alive that ultimately ends in a touchdown that costs you 7 points. And in a game that you ultimately see it be decided by a touchdown or less, that could loom large. So can't have it. Dolphins take advantage and get a touchdown. They're up 10-7. San Diego gets a field goal right before the half. Had a chance to get in the end zone, but Rivers had an illegal forward pass, and the Chargers had to settle for a field goal. Look, 3 is always better than none. However, field goals don't win games. Touchdowns do. You know the motto, and it rings true every single week in the National Football League. So here's another instance. Chargers get down there, have an opportunity to get in the end zone. They cannot cash in, and they had several opportunities on that very possession and failed to take advantage. Phillip Rivers finally gets it in the end zone, but he is well past the line of scrimmage when he does throw it to Gates in the end zone. They got to kick the field goal. It's 10-10 at the half. So we come out of the break. Bad tackling, but also a great individual effort by Charles Clay as he rumbles for 39 yards and a touchdown to separate the Dolphins to a 7-point lead. And look, this was a phenomenal play by Charles Clay. However, this was some porous tackling, and it's been a problem of the Chargers all year long. That secondary has been that one weak spot of this defense, and it reared its ugly head on this particular play. Charles Clay catches a pass that's probably about a 12 to 13-yard gain, runs over a guy, breaks another tackle, spins out of another one, takes off down the field, and scores a touchdown. It was a nice individual effort by Charles Clay for 39 yards. Is that rumble, young man rumble. Charles Clay gets in the end zone. It's a 17-10 Miami Dolphins lead. That was a big play in the ball game because it was stagnant for a while there. Each team kind of going back and forth through the motions. This kind of opened up things for the Dolphins in this football game. Chargers respond to that score with a Nick Novak field goal at 17-13. You see the difference here, though. Charles Clay gets in the end zone. Nick Novak attempting a field goal and cashing in for the Chargers. So we're talking about the difference between a touchdown and a field goal. Touchdowns win games. All right? Field goals don't win games. Touchdowns do. So now it's 17-13. Now, if you kick enough of them, maybe, just maybe. Again, 3 better than 0, but 7 trumps all of that. So Chargers move the football down the field again, but this time on the strength of a Ryan Matthews long run down the sideline, but still have to settle for a field goal. And this is an Achilles heel in this game. You got to get in the end zone. Okay? You got to find a way to put the ball in and get 7. You're not going to have a million opportunities in any given game to keep kicking field goals to win. While the other team is busy scoring touchdowns, if you're kicking field goals, you're not going to win the game. Now it's 17-16. Dolphins only lead by a single point. So now the Dolphins need to do something because if the Chargers keep kicking field goals at this rate, they'll win the football game. But if you're Miami, simply go down and get a field goal of your own, extend this back out to a touchdown in terms of what they need to beat you. That'll extend it to a 4-point game. The Chargers haven't really been able to get in the end zone all game long. 1 touchdown on the day, 3 field goals. You got to feel good about your chances. If you can go down, get a field goal, extend the lead to 4, and make them have to get in the end zone, something they've only been able to do once, and that was back in the first quarter. So, big drive by Miami to get a field goal, chew up the clock, and extend the lead to 4. What did I just say? That was paramount for them in this game because 20-16 makes the Chargers have to score a touchdown. We saw them struggle in Washington. Chance to win the game. Ball at the 1-yard line. 4 cracks if they wanted to go for it on 4th down. 3 cracks if you were willing to go to overtime to get the football in the end zone, and they could not do it from the 1-yard line. This team struggles to get in the end zone. We saw it against Denver last week. Denver scoring touchdowns, Chargers settling for field goals. Ultimately, that decided the game in a game that was an 8-point difference. They ended up kicking 2 field goals in that game, and the Denver Broncos scored 4 touchdowns. That's the difference in that game. You score 4 times, they score 4 times. They score 4 touchdowns. You score 2 field goals and 2 touchdowns. They win the game by 8. That's how it goes in the National Football League. You got to score touchdowns. Chargers not scoring touchdowns. So now they're down 4. Got to score a touchdown. Let's see what the Chargers do. Chargers driving, possibly take the lead or at least attempt a field goal with about 1 more possession coming your way. And if you can hold the Dolphins, you kick a field goal, cut it to a 1-point lead, you get the ball back 1 more time. Maybe you can mosey your way back down the field, get in field goal range for Nick Novak, and win the game 22-20. That's your best hope if you can't get in the end zone. But forget about all that. How about you get in the end zone and put the pressure on Miami? Well, Phillip Rivers takes a sack, and that was the one thing he could not afford to do on 3rd down. He takes the sack, pushes them out of field goal range. They got to punt the football. But the Chargers force a huge punt, get the Dolphins off the field, and get 1 more opportunity to win this football game. And they drive it down the field somewhat, but just like always, they get stagnant right around the red zone, couldn't get it in the end zone. Dolphins preserve the victory 20 20-16. Huge win for the Dolphins. For the second time in 3 weeks, the Dolphins make a huge stand, win a game that they have to win at home. Their backs were against the wall 3 weeks ago against Cincinnati on Thursday Night Football. They come away with the victory. They lose on the road to Tampa Bay, an inexcusable loss, but nonetheless, they lose that game. They could have easily hanged their heads after that loss. They got the controversy off the field. They're not playing good on the field. They could have easily tanked it in this game, but instead, they picked themselves up. They went and they got a gritty win at home versus the San Diego Chargers. Kudos to Joe Philbin and the rest of that staff for getting these guys ready to play a football game at home. And it was a short week. You played on Monday, so to come back and get it done on Sunday versus a hungry San Diego Chargers team, big win for the Miami Dolphins. So they get it done, 20-16, and they get that all-important win to get them back to 500 on the season. And just as important, they get the tiebreaker over these Chargers. So both of these teams finish the season 9-7, and that 9-7 record will be good enough to get in the postseason. Dolphins will get in via the tiebreaker because they beat San Diego in this all-important matchup. So this is huge for more than one reason. Chargers, tough pill to swallow here. I think they're about a year away from the postseason, but take nothing away from the Chargers. I feel like Mike McCoy, Tom Telesco, and that group, for their first year, they really got this Chargers team playing inspired football. They've got a couple of mismatched parts in there, some guys that probably won't be around next year. They got some more things to do via the draft and free agency. They've got more things. They've got to keep turning over this roster. But for what they have and all of the injuries that they've suffered at the wide receiver position and the positions of that nature, they've still played competitive football all season long and could easily be 6-4 instead of 4-6. So this is a very solid Chargers football team, and they're going to beat some more teams down the road in this season. And again, this season isn't done. They could easily do what they did earlier and string together a couple of wins, get back to 500, even get to 7-6 on the season, and really be right there at the end when it's all said and done to try to get in the postseason. So beware of this Chargers team, but right now at 4-6, they're an afterthought after losing this game on the road to Miami. You got to get in the end zone, and that's the Achilles heel of this Chargers team. Early in the season, they weren't having any problem scoring points. Of late, they can't find a way to get in the end zone, and that's killing them. Dolphins, huge win. Wasn't the best game by Ryan Tannehill. Wasn't the best game by this offense of the Dolphins. But again, doesn't have to be pretty. I say it all the time. A wise man once told me, don't be pretty, don't be cute, be good. Dolphins were good enough in this game to get the win. They go to 5-5. And now, all bets are off. Dolphins are right smack dab in the middle of that thing in the AFC conference for that 6th and final wild card berth in that conference. So that's going to do it for this edition of In the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me. That happens in the National Football League, whether big or small. We cover it all here in the Lab Room. Come back and join me. I've got plenty more football to break down in Week 11 of the National Football League.